All right, it's another episode of the PEBAheads, and Scott and I are joining you outside by the fire from apparently a Zoom pumpkin.
Festive.
Yeah, we know who the playoff teams are. We just don't know what's going to happen with the playoffs. So we're going to talk about that today, and then kind of some of the things, season overview of things that went as expected and other things that didn't, and talk about those teams.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, to get this started, I mean, we can kind of highlight the playoff teams, and I'm sure you were very stunned that Florida ended up prevailing and not, just sucking away the whole IL, not making the playoffs, and
Hey, they are much, much worse than last year. They only won 104 games. I think we made that joke in one of the podcasts that they were gonna be way worse. They were only gonna win. I think I said only gonna win 110.
yeah,
So they underperformed.
yeah, and Brewster, that terrible pitcher Brewster, still ended up finishing with 3.08 ERA with 16 wins. So just a terrible
Yeah.
year for him.
So I did we can look back on how maybe we had some knee-jerk reactions to some underperformances at the beginning of the season, but it does happen. It happens pretty regularly that someone just doesn't perform up to what their ratings are for a short period of time, but over a long enough period of time, they tend to perform well with regards to the ratings. I think Brewster is a good example. And then on the intermittent thing, so like last year, my starting pitcher, my ace, Ojeda, he gave up 30 home runs last year. And I think on average, he gives up in the teens. So he like doubled his home run rate last year for no, not there was no drop in ratings. There was no other explanation than it was just bad luck for him, which he bounced back and gave up, I think, only 16 home runs this year, which is why his ERA was significantly better than it was last year. But those kind of anomalies happen. You have to expect they're going to happen, and don't get too surprised when it does happen.
Well, speaking of surprises, I would say Hartford winning their division would be a surprise to some in the league.
Yeah, yeah. So they were 79 and 83, which was good enough for second place last year, and we could agree they significantly improved their team. What would you say is some of the explanation as to why they got so much better this year?
I think they're definitely the additions they made on offense increased their home run output, which then increased their runs scored. And that seems to be the big thing for me because they always had some decent pitchers, uh, led by Aaron Goder being one of the better ones. But the offense the way it is now makes them definitely a team that, especially in a short series, you don't want to get matched up with because they've got some high end pitching at the top, and then you got the power behind it. So it's going to be an interesting series with San Antonio, and you can kind of say make similar comments about them. They've got, I think, in a longer series, they're less scary, but in a short series, you've got Marcos Gonzalez at the top, and then Yamaguchi. That was a off-season trade that they had made with those two at the top. If they're getting multiple starts out of those guys in a short series, then that's scary with some of the power bats they have in their lineup. But looking at it further, if you can get around one or two guys on the offensive side of that lineup, it's not as scary of a task. So
Yeah, I would say
never know.
so. Something that kind of stands out with San Antonio. So they were third in their division last year, 83 and 79. But I think a little bit more surprising, it's been 25 seasons since they've made the postseason. So this is their first postseason appearance in 25 seasons, which is pretty long. That's a long drought.
Yeah.
Um, And if you look at, they're doing it with pitching and defense, right? Like they have really, really good pitching and really good defense.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward, and that can be a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast. But they definitely have some young core pieces to build around. It's just a matter of now you got to build around it.
Yeah,
So
and they have two total postseason appearances since the league began in 2007. So, that's good for them, right? I
yeah,
think if you're looking for underdogs to root for, I would say San Antonio is definitely one of them, but then also another team is New Orleans. So New Orleans, they have four total postseason appearances, all I think the first four seasons of the league's existence, and it has been 33 seasons since they have made the playoffs. Uh, that's quite impressive. And they were a sub 500 team last year, 80 and 82, good enough for fourth place. And now they've got 96 wins. So, a big hat tip to both New Orleans and San Antonio on a huge turnaround for their teams.
I'm looking at New Orleans right now, and for some reason the computer decided to take their best pitcher off their playoff roster, which I'm sure Chuck has already
Yeah,
addressed.
mine
But
mine
it's
was
so
pretty
weird when
weird.
they do that.
Yeah, mine was pretty weird too. I had some odd choices from the computer.
It's nice to see though. One of the, I mean, one of the closers in the last draft that a lot of people were focused on was Tamari, but New Orleans made the pick taking Ward Hernandez, and he's been pretty much lights out since Chuck called him up. So
I
that's going
see
to be,
he's got him listed, not as the closer. He's only got one save, but I think you could argue he's better than his closer.
yeah,
Bad
and
Stone.
it's I've had Batstone before. He's an interesting reliever. He's had a long career in PEBA, but Chuck's got to be excited about having Hernandez and then Sheroy. I don't know.
Yeah, his bullpen ranked first in ERA with 278. So his starters aren't bad either. Sixth in ERA with 336, but that's an impressive bullpen ERA. I wish I had that ERA.
Well, then he's got a really balanced offense. Um, when you look at it ratings wise, a lot of guys with basically really similar makeups, but then you've got his young third baseman Belafonte is starting to get into closer to what you'd expect the production for him to be. Last year he had a little over a half season. Now he's got a full season this year, and the power's there. The contact is growing, so that'll be a player people will not want to face for a long time. Just Gerard Stark was a guy that looks like he was acquired from Hartford beginning of the season. Added some nice power to the middle of the order there for him. So, and I think the other one, yeah, Lee Caporn was the guy that he added in free agency. So,
Yeah, I was looking at him because he's the guy I was in on in free agency because I was trying to replace my right fielder who walked through free agency, and his price tag went up pretty quick, and I shifted gears to the right fielder I ended up with. But I was looking at his stolen bases. So pretty good runner, right? Got a 10 in stealing ability, 9 speed, 9 stealing aggressiveness, 10 stealing ability, 10 base running. And yet he's got a 52% stolen base success rate. 21 stolen bases, 19 caught stealing.
it just
It seems
it's
odd. Like am
it's
I not
definitely odd.
like 70% is what is considered, a good success rate? Do we have many 70% success rates in the league? I would say probably
Not
not.
many, not many, and I think, I mean, really at this point. I've cranked my stolen bases down because
I've done the
I
same.
don't see I don't see really a point if your top stolen base guys are getting thrown out at a 50 or close to 50% clip. What the point of running into outs is at this point? So
That's the philosophy that, you know, that most people say. I'm just curious if that's the way it works with the game engine. But
yeah,
from I know you and I have talked about this in the past and we've looked into it a little bit. The I think there's a it's Stats Lab that you found the team stolen base success rate. And I think the leading team success rate was 65%, 64%, something like
yeah,
that.
it was something like that. It's pretty low. So if the best are only doing it
Yeah,
as a
well,
team, but
remember Aurora, I think Aurora is the number one stolen bases in the league. They've historically Aurora has been a speed team and their success rate was just north of 50%.
it
Like
was
not
like, yeah, 57, 58%, something
yeah,
like
not
that.
where
So,
you would not where I would have predicted it. If you would have asked me without looking, I would assume they were upper 60s, maybe even 70% success rate as a team.
well, I know Dylan's looking into it, so will probably be more from the board in the off season on that and on what they're seeing and what possible changes would be made. But it's definitely interesting because yeah, it's like you have like two trains of thought on it. It's either you don't run at all, or you have to shift your assumption on is 70% really still the magic number?
Yeah,
And I know
yeah,
there's different
maybe it's not.
situations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it's 60. I don't know.
yeah.
I would be curious. So, like, if you do AI, right, and ask the artificial intelligence, which I did, and it says that 70 to 80% is what is considered, um, a smart success rate for your stolen bases. And again, I don't think clearly no one in the no one team in the league has anywhere close to 70%.
That's where like I'm starting to lean, and I know it'll probably get adjusted, but I'm starting to wonder more and more if our of the real world MLB success rate is based on factors that are not present or not. If run, what I guess what I'm getting at is if run production is at more of a premium here, there could be the argument made that even though the percentage is lower, that it's still worth doing because on the rare instance of getting an extra base hit and you have somebody that's turned a single into a double by stealing a base, you're getting an extra run that way that you may or may not have gotten. But I don't know. I think I'm still going to crank mine down and keep it that way. But I don't think you can. I still think running into more outs than necessary is probably not good for your long-term production as a team. But
Well, back
all
to
right,
the
back to the
postseason
yeah.
stuff. I'd say other surprises for me would be Tempe missing the playoffs. Um, I would have, I didn't do the predictions, but if I was doing a prediction at the beginning of the season, I would have picked Tempe to win our division. Um, I wouldn't have been someone who had the foresight to pick Reno like you did, but I would have thought Tempe would have won the division, and they finished 82 and 80, so that's a bit of
Hey,
a
I mean,
surprise.
I had Aurora like fifth, so
Yeah.
can't take too much.
Speaking of surprises, we were looking at their month by month win totals, and they were pretty bad at the beginning of the season. I don't know if they hit fifth place at some point. They were definitely in
They were
fourth
at sixth place at one point for I
for
think
a
the
short
first
period of
month of the
time,
year.
and
Yeah,
then just they went on a tear win wise in what July. Their
yeah,
their Aurora's win total in July, I thought you said was like 20 wins, 21 wins.
yeah. 20 or in August it was 15-9 in July, and then 21-8 in August.
Yeah, that's a really hot. I know August is a hot month, but that is a hot record for August.
Well, to when you have 3 months of below 500 games or months in a row, and then July they had the in a 15-9 month, but yeah,
And they
the
didn't make
21 and
they
8, I'm
they didn't make
still,
any acquisitions, right? I mean, I think it's is it pretty much the same team he was running out there when he was losing?
yeah,
So,
that's what's I guess the most confusing part for me is that like I could get it if you made moves to address weaknesses or perceived weaknesses, or maybe you had a guy that was a major player in your roster that was injured and they came back or something to that
well,
effect. But
they finished the season where, with their team stats where they usually do, right? They've never been much for home runs, so uh they're 16th in home runs with 95 total as a team, but they consistently are good at pitching. They're consistently very good with defense, and they are a stolen base team for as long as I can remember. Um, so he won this year the way he usually wins, which is pitching, defense, and speed.
definitely, it's just it's hard for me to grasp the plus 27 run differential and then not having something in your team stats that just stands out as to like maybe you won a lot of close games or you're really good in extra innings. When you look at Aurora's extra inning record, they're 8-7, and one run games they're 27-25. So the only thing I can garner from that is possibly earlier on in the year, maybe they were just very bad in one running games or extra inning games, and then they got hot and won a bunch in a row. But when you have a plus 27 run differential, you're generally not going to be an 85 win team. And, kudos to Mike for turning it around. But
Did you see who's got the biggest? I would have predicted Florida, and they have a lot. They have a 199 run differential, 199, but they were beat by one run. The Evas have 200 run differential.
when you,
That's
it
crazy.
doesn't surprise me that they're the team that would have better than Florida. But I mean, any team better than Florida is surprising when you look at the makeup of all the teams in the league. You would assume Florida would be number one there, but
Yeah. I'm surprised that I have a bigger run differential than you do.
I think a lot of it is just
Oh
the
no,
way
no,
the games change.
I'm 70 mistake. I'm 73, you're 85. Neither one of us are Florida and the Evas territory, but
No, but
respectable, right? Respectable.
yeah. I mean, when they pull up mine, I know for a while there I was doing really well in one run games. Yeah, like playing a lot of close games, but you're winning them, and we're 37-20 in one run games, and then 10-8 in extra inning games. So, like to me, like when you look at Pythagorean record, the game says I should be 91-71, which I don't know. Dylan was right to say that like the Pythagorean record is kind of there's times where it doesn't tell the whole story. Um, but with a lot of stats, it's a place to start, and then you go from there to understand the why behind why a team overperformed or underperformed. It would be
Res-
interesting. I haven't looked at Mike's to see what his Pythagorean record was, because
Aurora,
yeah,
84 and 78. I'm looking at it right now. So he's plus
see
one.
it doesn't. Yeah, I don't really understand how it basically. So Mike's record of 84 and 78 with a 27 run differential. It's only what did it say? Mine was 91, so only 7 game difference for a 60 some more runs. Like that, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this expanded standings page in game is great because it shows Aurora pre-All-Star break
There you go. That
was
was the one.
38 wins and 50 losses. 38 and 50 pre-All-Star. Post-All-Star, 47 and 27. I mean, that is crazy. That is a very, very good record.
Yeah.
Like Florida. Florida beat them post all. They're neck and neck. Florida was 49 and 24 post All-Star break.
Well, if it looks like San Juan was 48 and 27, and so they had a good second half, and then the Avas were 50 and 22. So yeah, I mean for Aurora to flip it around the way they did, I mean top one of the top records in the second half.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
they they
pretty
crushed me.
impressive.
Well, they crushed me all season. So I was 5 wins and 13 losses versus Aurora this year. 5 and 13. Really excited about getting them in the first round of the postseason.
Well,
Let's
the other
hope.
thing too is
Yeah,
like,
let's hope the game says, "Hey, I'm bound to win some now." I mean, I lost
yeah,
so many games against them this year that eventually I have to win some, right?
well, you hope. But it's interesting because you look at like a team like Tempe and they had a plus 60 run differential and ended up winning 82 games.
Yeah.
So you get into that, but theirs makes more sense when you dig into it because in one run games they were 17 and 30. So like there's definitely you look into it more and you're like, okay, like they scored runs, but in the close ones they lost more than they won. So
Would you chalk that up to bad luck, or do you think
you'd
there's?
say bad luck, but I think it's more in their case probably. I mean, their starter ERA was 12. Their bullpen was 6th, so not terrible in bullpen, and a better, top third or close to it anyway. But I think with them it was more of a their starters probably put them in a hole, and then their offense carried them back into a game, and then it just didn't not enough. So I wouldn't go. It could be a little bit of luck, but I think it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the off season because it's definitely. I mean, their offense is great. It's just a matter of how can you limit runs.
Tempe was 50 and 31 in home games, 50 and 31 at home, 32 and 49 away. That's a pretty drastic home away split.
Yeah,
For
the
comparison, I was 46 and 35 at home, 45 and 36 away. So one game difference between my home and away.
yeah, it's got to be pretty frustrating for Brian to right now. I know you went through a similar thing last
Oh
year,
yeah. Oh
so
yeah. The worst one was well, I don't think it was last season, was it? The 2 seasons ago where
two, yeah.
it seemed like I was leading the division like the almost the whole season. And the last week of the season got overtaken by Aurora, lost the division, and did not make a wild card. So out of the postseason, like right at the end. That was a gut punch.
Well, I'd say the last,
I much prefer the way it went this year. Much better this
yeah, so far anyway.
year. Yeah, postseason can. You know what? I go into the playoffs every time expecting not to win. So then it's a pleasant surprise if I do.
Well, the last team I wanted to cover quick on the playoff side would be Duluth because I remember, yeah, they haven't made the playoffs, and this will be three seasons they haven't made the playoffs, and
but
then
significant.
overall,
They were 78 and 84 last year. Third place, 18 games out of first. So that's a pretty significant turnaround.
well, and I know there's a lot of debate on how you build your team, and they made some pretty significant moves in free agency last year by signing the
Climo, yep.
Climo and then the DH John Pulsifer. And that seems to,
Yeah. So Climo 15 and 9, 285 ERA as their team ace. And Pulsifer 37 homers, 94 RBIs.
I like what they're building there though, because they added two old pieces, but then when you look at their lineup, most of their players are still pretty young, and they've got a couple more coming. So be interesting to see how things shake out with Toyoma here. It'll be a good test for them. Um, just Dylan always built, good teams. So, you know, you've got he's got to go. Dylan's going to have to go up against Climo, but it's not like Toyoma doesn't have a stable of pitchers either that Duluth
Yeah.
is going to have to face.
Yeah. Speaking of Toyoma, so it's second in runs scored, second in home runs with 189, second in runs against, starter ERA fifth, 346, bullpen ERA second, 305. Let's see how they did with defense, team defense. Third in zone rating, 40.5. Third in defense efficiency, and 10th in errors, interestingly enough. So great zone rating, great defensive efficiency, and then kind of pedestrian average on errors.
Well, that's clearly because, they're just getting to all these balls that no
That's
one
right.
else would get, and the scorekeeper is just calling it an error.
So we've talked about it before, the importance of zone rating, defensive efficiency, and errors, but this is a team that clearly is much better at getting to the balls than they are at fielding them.
Well, I remember people criticizing Ozzie Smith for getting into the Hall of Fame, and they talked about errors, and I always used to laugh at that because it's like when you go back and you look, they're giving the guy a error on a ball where he dove and it hit off his glove, and half the league would have just not even dove, like they would just went by and it's a hit, and it's like I think in today's game, it's the scorekeeping is generally better than what it was, but there's still times where you see home scorekeepers where it's like, oh, that's not an error, or the other team, the visiting team did it, so it's an error. I'm gonna, you know, classify it like that. But it's always interesting in a game like this though to look and try to understand what's driving that because like you even mentioned the zone rating and defensive efficiency is they're both third, so where are the errors coming from? Well, we can just pull. Let's see what Casper Osmond's. He's got 11 errors, but I mean 24 zone rating. Take that any day.
Yeah, that is a very impressive zone rating for a shortstop.
And I know you and I have talked about this before, but it's interesting is the first baseman Francisco Cabrera has 10 errors, and but the game rates him as a 9 first base, which kind of furthers kind of my point that base ratings are pretty garbage to really go by because
Wow, did you? He is
how do you have
six.
10 errors with
He's
your
six
first
foot
baseman?
8 inches tall. His
Yeah,
first
that's
his
all that's
first
driving
baseman
it
is
is
six
height.
eight.
Yeah.
But and we know that height is an incredible. It's incredibly important in first baseman. But
Well,
six eight.
yeah. And this is why, depending on position, zone rating is a good thing to look at, and other it's not that good. For other positions, it's not good. If you look at this, you're going to see Cabrera as a 7.3 zone rating player. That 7.3 is not equal to like another position's 7.3.
No, no. I would take 7.3 at second base. I don't really need it at first, but to defend the guy, I mean, 43 home runs, 102 RBI. I
Oh,
mean,
he's a great player. Yeah.
he's an offensive player. He's a powerhouse. So anything you get on defense is just a plus.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you go and filter by zone rating at first base, he's probably one of the top ones because you barely see
Most
first
likely.
basemen that have.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is the difference between a 7.2 and a 0 is not the equivalent of like a second base or a
Shortstop.
shortstop, left center
Even
field,
third. Even
third.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we talked about before, shortstop, center field, two most important defensive positions on your team.
And that's another one we could get into sometime of just after that, where do you go? But
I like second, I would say, but when we've talked about it, the catcher ratings are tremendously important, for your pitching.
yeah. Well, and I think people, I mean, it was like 2 or 3 versions ago, you pretty much had to have an elite defensive catcher to do it if you wanted to win any games. And then they kind of dialed it back. And I think people, when they dialed it back, are like, oh, I can get away with not having that defensive catcher there. And it's like, it's not as important as it wasn't game as, it was basically game breaking what they hadn't said before, but it's still one of the top positions I mean, it impacts every single pitch. So it's definitely interesting to see some of the starting catchers in any league and what the thought process is of behind teams and why they start certain players. But I mean, it's clear in our league that I mean, anytime a shortstop reaches free agency that has any semblance of good defensive ratings, they're going for 25, 30 million
Yeah.
a year. So,
We've seen it. We've seen some pretty high price tags for defensive center or defensive shortstops in free agency,
so we're just
which
kind
is
of beat.
why I've tried to target them in the draft pretty explicitly.
Yeah, I mean, if there's definitely you can definitely not go wrong on taking a player that has good defense. It seems like that's something that will translate or play at any level. It's just a matter of will the bat develop eventually when you're going down that path.
From the lakes of Duluth to Havana's warm breeze, Reno's desert lights glow, where the crowds never freeze. Untake's waters with the bats held high, to a sandlot dream stuck the white on the sky. Palm Springs brings the heat where the sun always shines. 32 teams united, crossing every line. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swinging for the stars in the bareback game. Full of fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary stream, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 that is the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. Scottish Pipers cheer as the bases all run. New Orleans rhythm swings till the battle is won. And Tempe's rolling the dice with the fastball surprise. Toyoma's precision lights up in our eyes. Nahamashi's heart beats strong when the dust meets the dream. Florida's golden fields where the champions claim. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swinging for the stars in the bareback game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary stream, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 that is the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. 32 dreams, one world, one fight. From dusk till dawn, we're burning so bright. Every pitch, every hit, every play in the zone. The Planetary Baseball Alliance, we're never alone. fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. That is the name. We're changing the game. We're changing the game. So raise up your gloves, let the banners fly high from San Juan to Kalamazoo. We're reaching the sky. Planetary extreme baseball alliance, where the legends are born. Swing for the stars, let the world hear a roar.
All right, we're going to switch gears here and talk about something that's way off in the distance, but we have some resolution now on the draft order.
You mean the
And
D'Antonio race?
yes, the D'Antonio race, but with Michael winning this race, it
New Jersey.
does, yeah, New Jersey Michael does throw, a little bit of a wrench into this because he may, he just might go in here and look and say, you know what? Everyone's thinking it's D'Antonio, but I really like this guy. Where did he go? Now I'm going to lose him. Rob Stewart, 20-year-old Rob Stewart.
I'm going to take your bet, and I'm going to say that D'Antonio is going to be the number one overall pick in the draft.
He better be. Like, good God.
I think he gets harder after that. There's, and do you know how many of these 16-year-olds are going to stay in the draft class come draft day?
Pro L comes down to what their age is at draft day.
Yeah, because there's some pretty
Because there's
impressive.
some, if you look, that are high school juniors. So I'm assuming if they're classified as a junior, then they're probably not going to go.
Yeah,
But
they're currently listed in the future pool when you use the 2044 drop down menu, but it just doesn't look like all of those players are going to be there come draft day, but I just don't know for sure.
yeah,
But there's again after D'Antonio, who I think is a clear number one selection. There's a lot of pretty talented players in the pool, so I'm not sure. So New Jersey's got the first overall. I think Kalamazoo has the second overall pick, followed by Okinawa. So I'm not sure I could predict who goes second, but some of the guys that we've been looking at, there's this he's listed as a left fielder, but I think he's really a right fielder. His name is Jose Martinez.
I think if Kalamazoo passes on him, Okinawa is going to be very happy because that looks like a guy that doesn't matter what your ballpark is, he's going to hit.
Yeah, and like right away. I mean, with D'Antonio and this Martinez, you're looking at two players who could go right to the majors.
Oh, and everyone talks about the infamous Florida draft, but um, you look at Kalamazoo getting, they'll have back-to-back drafts where you have essentially cornerstone players
Yeah,
on offense.
they got that
Um,
third baseman last year, right?
yep,
Or this season
this
draft.
this past season, yep.
And then next season they potentially could get, I think, a cornerstone right fielder who can just mash.
Yeah, so let's see. I think he might have sent, yeah, he ended up sending the third baseman back down to save on
Service
service
clock
time.
management.
Yeah, but Mark Patterson, yeah, when you're gonna have basically Mark Patterson heading into his 22-year-old season, and then if he does take this outfielder, he'll be 21 at draft time. So those are two players that will be essentially in the heart of his order. Really good players to build around. It's just a matter of, I think on for the Kalamazoo side, when we had Jaime on, his big thing was he wanted to add a D'Antonio type because he felt that was the big need on his team was his pitching side. So it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes with that. And I don't know, maybe he's open for business with the number two pick.
Well, let's
If
face
you've
it,
got if you've
having
got an
Pat
elite pitcher,
Yeah,
maybe he'd be interested.
having Patterson and let's presumably that Jose Martinez in right field, those two guys can significantly impact his offense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's got pitching wise for next year, but his starters don't look too great. But
No, and then
he might have some guys in the minors. I don't know.
I think the other thing too is like I've seen people say, "Oh, I've already got outfield depth, so I'm going to go with a different position." And
He does. He's got this Greg Moore
my
in
counter to
AAA.
that would be you trade Greg Moore away, and
Well, I think both Moore and Jose Martinez
they have a role on the team.
could have a place on his team.
And then he's got a really nice another third baseman, Trevor Dallimore. He's got another outfielder, Adrian Montoya. I mean, these are problems you want to have,
Right.
and you figure it out. Like you pick the guys that you like, and maybe one of these guys becomes your DH. Like you always have that flexibility as well. And I just think when you're getting able to draft a player that is coming in this highly rated to start, it would be very hard for me to not take that player because you know what that player's floor is going to be essentially. And a lot of these other players, they might be coming in more developed than what we traditionally see, but there's no one coming in at this level. And even if you want to go a different direction down the road, you could trade him in 3 seasons, and I would think his trade value as a power hitter is going to be better than probably anyone outside of D'Antonio in this draft.
So, a question for you: if you're New Jersey, do you promote D'Antonio next season, or you keep him down in the minors the whole year?
So everything that I've heard Michael say on Slack anyway seems to be that he believes there are a lot of players on his AAA team that are ready to
Oh,
make the jump.
well, if that's the
So
case, then
if that's the case,
yeah,
then
then there's an argument for
bring him up.
promotion if you've got the players to surround him.
Yeah.
His big league team clearly does not have the talent to surround someone like D'Antonio. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lost that many games this year.
Yeah.
But if he's got talent that's ready to go in the minors, we could be talking about New Jersey being the most improved team next year.
Yeah, he's definitely got guys there. I think that the starting pitcher he took in the
Oh,
last draft, Bill
he's al-
Brooks,
yeah, already at AAA.
is at AAA, so he's going to be close. Um, there's a couple other pitchers. This Joe Carter reliever looks like he could make the jump pretty successfully. Maybe this Chris Owen guy is pretty close. Martin McCutcheon. So he's got options. I mean, he's got all his current staff on his PEBA team that many of these guys have options, so he'll be able to pick and choose which ones he wants to go with because I think most of his rotation last year were Rule 5 guys. So
I was going to say, don't count out the Rule 5. He could get a whole new rotation next year.
I I don't if you're not competing, I don't know why you don't maximize Rule 5. Like I know people laugh when they see people take a bunch of players, but it's like why are you not taking 10 guys and then
Well, who did you get? You got a pretty significant piece, I thought, last year in Rule 5 for
I
someone.
got a I got a couple, but the big one was um the Scott Sherman
Yeah, that's him.
from Yuma. He's left-handed hitting first baseman. I think when I drafted him, his position was technically it was a left fielder, but he had no positional ratings. So I don't know if that was what scared Bob off, is that he didn't have a positional rating, so he thought he was a DH only type guy. But
911 OPS for you this year. Granted, you it looks like you were using him in a limited role, only 252 plate appearances, but that's a pretty significant offense production.
yeah, it was one of those where you have Rob Woodard and you're thinking Rob Woodard's ratings would facilitate that he would produce a lot better. But I would basically was giving Woodard days off against left-handed hitters for most of the year, and he was upset about not starting every day and hitting fourth. And then that's what's so funny about this game is like, I guess in real life you could have a player that's mad, but at some point, like as a manager, don't you like sit that player aside and say, you might think you're a four hitter, but you're not producing. Like you have 43 runs batted in this year. Like shut up. Like
But I do think that, you know, player mood does affect performance in this game.
it definitely does. It's just the weird thing is like you give the player exactly what they want, and then they still have a shitty mood and their performance is shitty, and it never like I've seen other times where you have a player that's mad, and then you move them to their role, and they immediately jump to being happy and everything's fine. So I
Yeah,
guess this
I
what
have
makes the
someone
game fun, but
I've got someone who's mad on my team. I was looking at it the other day. Yeah, I brought some guy up at the roster expansion, infielder, Billy Norish, 27-year-old, nobody, but he's mad, and it says the reason why he's mad is the uh the team record. And I was like, we we won our division, man. Like,
yeah, what else? Yeah. Like Rob Woodard is angry about his performance. Yeah, so am I.
yeah, right. That makes two of us. That makes the whole staff is angry, Rob.
Yeah.
The whole staff.
Well, the other Rule 5 guy that I took was Shitaro Akamoto, who's my center fielder. And just, I think that would be my thing to the league is like, you, if you want to win, you need to be looking at every angle possible of acquiring players. And if you're not paying attention to Rule 5 or like, well, good luck to you because it's a very good way to, I mean, it's right during free agency. So you can address needs and free that you may have in free agency that you're going to get the player at league minimum rather than having to pay free agent price for him. And we all know that free agency prices tend to be higher. There's a lot of teams with money. So, you know, I hope nobody watches this and I can just keep drafting players in Rule 5. But
Oh, come on. There'll be at least 7 views.
yeah, they made it this far.
Yeah, I don't know. The view count means that they started it, right? It doesn't mean they
Yeah,
finished.
yeah. They could have watched it for 5 seconds.
Right. And we saved the Rule 5 discussion for the end, so maybe two people will hear it. I
Yeah,
wouldn't worry about it.
we know Commissioner Mike will be listening. He always gives a comment and a thumbs up or whatever. So we appreciate that. But I guess we can close it out. But I do want to, since Commissioner Mike is probably still listening, you know, we've always said that he's welcome to come on whenever he wants to. So, maybe after the playoffs when things slow down a little bit,
It has been a
because I
month.
know,
I was looking, it's been a month since our last podcast, so we did have a little bit of a break there.
yeah, but we know Dylan and Mike are going to be busy with Sims every day or every other day coming up. So it always would be good to, I mean, it'd be great to have multiple members of the board on at the same time and they can talk, about why there is a board and what they talk about or, the things that they're looking for would be kind of a neat insight to get more than just the standard, Slack text message of what's going on. It's always good to, I think, have a conversation rather than it's just I don't know. There's times where when we're talking on Slack that you're not having the natural flow of a conversation, and things get taken a different
Out
way
of
than out of
context, correct.
context. And
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to pick their brains on that stuff and maybe get an update on. Um, I know one of the big topics was switching over to Discord possibly at some point, so get an update on that or anything. So, but I think if we do switch to Discord, I do want to look into like maybe once a month just having a night on a sim night or something where just have it PEBA happy hour or something where we can all just get on and talk about stuff because it's hard to know, everyone's availability is different, but at least on a sim night, you might be able to get a handful of people together and just
Those drink fests that we used to have with Michael and Lenny were absolutely hilarious. I had so much fun when we were doing them. Probably consumed more alcohol than we should have. I definitely consumed more alcohol than I should have during those. But
well, now you can do that because you don't have to worry about getting up early the next day.
right, but those hangover headaches, man, they're not good in the morning.
Well, part of the problem was it was always coming off like a 36-hour shift and then
Right.
being
That's not
tired and then
it's not going to happen anymore.
yeah, we get a fresh Scott.
That's right. I'm always fresh now.
Yeah. All right.
We've been doing these in the morning, so
Yeah, no, this has been
morning
good.
drinking, it's not a great idea.
No, we'll stick to the coffee. All right, Scott, I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
From the lakes of Duluth to Havana's warm breeze, Reno's desert lights glow where the crowds ever free. Shinseki's wars with the bats held high. Yuma's sandlot dreams touch the wide open sky. Palm Springs breathes the heat where the sun always shines. 32 teams united, crossing every line. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the Beverly game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the back to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 Beverly's the name, Beverly's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. Scottish pipers cheer as the bases are run. New Orleans rhythm swings till the battle is won. Tempe's rolling the dice with the fastball surprise. Toyota's precision lights up in our eyes. Now machines are strong where the dust meets the tree. Florida's golden fields where the champions gleam. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the Beverly game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the back to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 Beverly's the name, Beverly's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. 32 dreams, one world, one fight. From dusk till dawn, we're burning so bright. Every pitch, every hit, every play in the zone. The Planetary Baseball Alliance, we're never alone. From the fields to the stands, hear the blending unite. PEBA's the spark and we're taking flight. Swing for the stars in the Beverly game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the back to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 Beverly's the name, Beverly's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. So raise up your gloves, let the banners fly high. From San Juan to Kalamazoo, we're reaching the sky. Planetary Extreme Baseball Alliance, where the legends are born. Swing for the stars, let the world hear our roar.